Good evening and welcome to Wanderings and Wool Gathering. We are a few minutes late. We had some technical difficulties tonight, but we are coming to you. It's about 7:28, so just a little behind, but we care enough that we work through the problems. Welcome to episode 129. Yes, that's right. 129 episodes of Wanderings and Wool Gathering. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the latest record called The Car from the Arctic Monkeys. We're going to talk about Smashing Pumpkins' new song. It's the 7th release through the podcast, the 8th released overall. And we're going to talk about Sandman number 20, a great one-off sort of issue. It's got a lot of depth and heart to this one, so another good issue. Tonight's episode is brought to you by the Kokomo Lantern. It's a journalistic endeavor focused upon the simple principles of illuminating the good and eliminating the shadows in our local community. Head over to kokomolantern.substack.com to sign up for all of that awesome content. And I'm not doing this alone tonight, folks, because I can't. There's just too much to do. So I'm going to have to invite a friend to the show, and it's none other than Metalhead Mundy.
Step inside into his mind. It's boy band time. It's
Metalhead Mundy.
Yeah, he was the one on the back right. See, there he is.
I feel like I'm on somebody's back right, man. Ooh, having some technical difficulties, putting it mildly.
Yeah, that's all right. We did it, though. We're here. We're ready to talk about music and comics, two things that we both love. So how bad can it be?
We're gonna find out.
Come on now. We're gonna give it the old college try. We're gonna do it with
Oh no, we could do it. I just no guarantee that what we're covering is gonna be good.
my heart hurts. I'm just saying it right now. Oh yeah. Well, we'll get there, and you guys will feel my pain then. So okay. But anyway, what we ought to do first, I think, is I think I'm just going to have to stump you. That's what I'm going to do first.
All right.
I can't help it. Now, actually, I think you're going to get it, but this is a fun one, and I think, yeah, I think you'll get it for sure. Are you ready?
We'll give it, like you said, the old college try.
For those of you at home, we are doing the challenge inspired by Lester Bangs, which is a review of an album. Taking out all of the pertinent information, and the other folks on the show have to figure out what album the review is talking about. Without further ado, here it is. On their debut album, this group essentially comes across as a bash 'em out bar band, making up enthusiasm what they lack in technical skill. Yet that's part of the appeal of this record, a chance to hear the band without the glossy production of their later, most popular work, showcasing their down and dirty roots. The fact that pop metal songwriting was not really a consideration helps the album come off as more genuinely trashy and sleazy, celebrating its own grime with exuberant zest. What are we talking about?
Huh. Well, some of that made me think of Appetite for Destruction, but then you mentioned like their more popular later work. So that kind of threw me off of that idea.
Well, I think too that I think there's a lot of technical skill with Appetite. More so than this.
Is it Nirvana Bleach?
No, good guess though.
Okay. Huh. Man. Like I hate to just sit here with dead air while I'm trying to think.
Yeah, it was re-released in, was it 2019 maybe? Possibly.
Huh.
Yeah, one of their members just retired.
Their members just retired.
Just officially hung up the axe.
Wow. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. All right. I got it. That's Motley Crue. What's their first album called? Is it Too Fast for Love?
Indeed it is, sir. Nailed it. Yeah, I figured when I gave you the
all of
McMars
what
clue.
you said, all of what you said makes sense. Your clue gave it away. Yeah,
Yeah.
because old Mitch just retired from the
Mick.
road.
He looked old in the 80s.
Oh.
Yeah, he was aged beyond his peers.
Yes, he is older than the rest of them, but his spinal condition just has, I can't believe he hasn't quit before now.
Yeah, and touring, I think, just takes a toll on those guys. And even if you're young, touring
Yeah.
cannot be good to the body and mind. So, but yep, excellent job again. All right, well, Mundy, and it wouldn't be fair to just throw something you could never get. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Has to be gettable.
I appreciate the assist there, though.
All right. Let's do, because I want to stay in a good mood as long as I can. Let's do Smashing Pumpkins. And because they had another release. Actually, another one came out today, but I want to talk about that next time when I have a little time to sit with it, chance to digest the podcast. Have you had a chance to listen to one yet? The podcast?
No, I don't listen to the whole thing. I just I start it and then I fast forward to the song. I don't know. I really don't have any desire to listen to Billy go on and on. I know like he's one of your faves, and like you have said, like the podcast is pretty good, but I don't know. I listen to so many podcasts already that I just don't. I just want to hear the song.
Yeah. No, the first part is just him talking about this new record, but then later when they have the guest on, I think that's where the podcast shines, when he talks to different people.
That might be interesting, but I have not done that yet.
Gotcha. So the story continues, and this time it's called Steps in Time. And honest to God, I mean, I don't know exactly where this story is going, but we have a corrupt government, clearly, kind of keeping their hands on the populace. We've got a dark web, which here they call the crystal web. Okay. And so we've got some messages now coming. June's in space, trying to rescue Shiny, and she's communicating with Osira and Nighthawk. These two, I guess, what would you call them? Hackers, or people who were on this crystal web. And so she finds out that Shiny does have an impact on people on Earth, even though he has been erased. And so that's where this kind of picks up. She sends them some information that's encrypted, and they're off on a hunt of some kind to start digging in and finding these clues. And that's what this one's about. And in the podcast, Billy said that they're just giving us a snippet in the podcast, but there are going to be hundreds of clues throughout the record that you're supposed to be able to decipher.
So, but what does that mean though? Like does he mean like when you listen to it as a whole, you should see the picture better? Or
I think they're going to start piecing things back to the other two concept records. Since this is supposed to be the third, there's supposed to be some connections that maybe aren't evidently clear yet.
Okay, but does that mean they're going to change the songs that we're hearing now, or does it mean as a whole, when you hear it, you'll see it clearer?
Yeah, I think so. And I think the other thing is they haven't released all the lyrics. So, and sometimes Billy's hard to make out. So maybe when you put those together, it makes it more clear, because we don't know what's happened to June, because we all thought she was dead. She died in a car wreck. And then, Zero becomes Glass, becomes Shiny. So I'm not sure how that happens. I hope that the payoff is as good as he's building it up to be, because that will make or break this record.
Keep holding on to that one.
I know. As big of a fan of his as I am, I do get the you know what I mean?
It sounds so convoluted and crazy.
Yeah. It is a little bit goofy, but I'll always have those original records. So no matter what happens here, I will continue to go back and listen to those first ones. And we have a user question for Mr. Mundy. Would you like to answer that question?
So Billy Corgan or Bob Dylan? I guess it depends on what level you want to talk about. I could certainly listen to Smashing Pumpkins much easier than I could listen to Bob Dylan. Again, like I've said before, I think Dylan is an amazing songwriter. It's just hard for me to listen to him. And that's just purely a taste and preference thing. So, and I don't love all Smashing Pumpkins stuff either. Like I am not as big a fan as you are, obviously, but I came of age more, as a Pumpkins fan than a Dylan fan. So
yeah,
I would have to, I would have an easier time listening to Billy. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a huge fan, but let's be honest. The first three they hit it, and then after that, it was kind of a roller coaster.
Yeah,
for me.
Sure.
I mean, I liked Adore. There were some great things on there. Machina had some really good moments, but they've never hit what they did with the first three for me. They never will, I'm sure. But and I'm okay with that. I just want this one. It feels better so far. The songs, I rated them last night on Twitter just to see if anybody would respond. But I feel like there's some really solid songs so far in the few that have come out. So that gives me some hope. There you have it. Did you like the song Steps in Time?
I did. Yeah, it's well, first of all, it sounds like Jimmy's back, at least a little bit. Yeah, it had some really nice guitar work. The solo sounded really good. The synth, kind of the main synth riff of whatever you want to call it, is pretty cool. So, I had no problems with this song, really.
Yeah, I like this one a lot too. It was more upbeat, and it felt like that at times the guitars and synths worked together, and then at other times you had a guitar solo or you had a synth solo, like they kind of alternated. So the structure of the song was pretty interesting, I thought, and another really good song off of this. So far, what is your favorite one?
It's probably got to go back to that first one we heard, which I forgot the name of already.
Beguiled. What's that? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I really like the Good and Goodbye as well. That's the one that started off with the Sputnik recording.
Yeah.
So excellent stuff. So another one dropped today, but I haven't looked at the name of it yet. So I'm going to wait and entertain myself when I listen to the podcast later this week. So fantastic. Yep. All right. Well, that brings us to the actual album review. And I suggested this one because I have been a huge Arctic Monkeys fan throughout the years. And this one is, I just feel like a hypocrite because I say I love when bands evolve, and then they evolved here, and I'm like, why did you evolve? But yeah. What do you think, just overall, before we dig in?
Well, I didn't love it. I'm not a huge Arctic Monkeys fan anyway. Lacey is more, my wife Lacey is more of a fan than I am. So when we were talking about it, she went back and was playing, like, if you go on Spotify and you go to the band's page, there's a list on like their main page of like their most played songs, and she just started playing through those, and I'm like, I know some of those songs, but some of them I like, most of them I don't really care about, and I've just never been a huge fan of the band, so I didn't really have any judgment going into it. And the first couple songs, I'm like, okay, we got a little bit of a kind of a retro feel going on here a little bit, and I a a lot of the notes that I took for the songs kind of kept going back to the same thing. And honestly, after the fourth song, I quit taking notes.
You beat me.
And because it was all the same, I felt the same about every single song. And all 10 of these songs break down to three things for me. There's a kind of a vague retro 70s vibe to the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
The singer sounds exactly the same on every song, and not in a good way. I'm a fan of a lot of bands where the singer really doesn't change it up that much, but it works. And I don't know, this just didn't work for me. He needed to change it up, something. It wasn't working. I didn't love his voice in general. It kind of works for this, but I didn't really love this. So, and the lyrics are super dumb. They
Super
are
dumb.
dumb.
People are loving these lyrics. If you look up,
God, they're nonsense. They're absolute nonsense. There was like one song where the chorus kind of made sense. Like I kind of got a sense he was actually talking about something specific. The rest of it is just like nonsense.
Yeah, I think he's intentionally vague so you can kind of take your own thing to the party. But
you'd have to.
Yeah, I mean, when they started out and they had whatever people say I am, that's what I'm not. That album was incredible, and it was hard, and it was sort of punkish, and they had attitude and some snarl, and his voice was raw, and it came across that way. And those songs were, you had some slower songs, but you had some that really picked up and were bangers. And that song, like when you listen to your Spotify list, I bet most of those songs are not on there. I bet most of the songs on the Spotify list are from AM.
Probably.
Because that was their, you know how a band kind of comes about and they hit this little spot where like, oh, that's our sound or whatever. That came out, and then it was like Cage the Elephant came out, and they sort of sound like kind of a copycat or whatever. But whatever people saying was really raw, and that was fantastic. And I love that. I still go back and listen to that one quite a bit. And so they started that arc where they were going more mainstream and more popish, maybe more radio friendly. And then the last album, Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino, was more like this. You could see that progression. And I kind of thought, well, is this just it's a concept record?
Okay.
Is this like a trial? Or is this where they're going to be? Well, this record clearly shows this is where they went. They sound like a lounge act now.
Kinda. Yeah.
It really does. And his voice in here
Very
sounds like
very croonery. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if you listen to that first record, that's not how he comes across. I mean, and I suppose he's grown and changed, and the band is, I guess they've developed. The music was fine. I mean, as musicians go, nice arrangements, whatever. But it was just, when I think about music being art, it's supposed to say something. It's supposed to move you. It's supposed to do something. This to me was just like, ugh, what am I listening to? I didn't get through 4 songs of notes.
It was, it really was a bit of a slog. I mean, thankfully it's only like 37 minutes long, but it was, I hate to be that way, but it really is like the best thing I can say about it. Well, it wasn't very long, so but it really, like, so much of it just felt the same, and I think that was his voice. The titles are, I mean, the first few songs, like the titles are just long and silly, and then it's like they started out with all these. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. The first 4 songs, the titles are long and they're goofy sounding.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like they just stopped and were like, let's switch gears on that. And then the titles are all like 1 and 2 words.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what happened there. But yeah. And it's just, I don't know, man. It all sounds like fake retro, like they're trying too hard, like maybe they found some old gear and they're like, oh hey, let's use this. And there's one song that has like it's track 4, Jet Skis on the Moat.
Mm-hmm.
So clever title. It's just like it's like a almost like an R&B slow jam bass.
Mm-hmm.
And then they build on that with like this super generic like wah guitar. I'm like, really? Come on, man. It's just, I don't know. It just, everything about this hit wrong for me. Like there's a couple of songs had some cool little parts, but it just, yeah, it felt real flat for me.
Yeah, I had one song that I liked, and it was Sculptures of Anything Goes.
Okay.
Musically, I thought that one was a little bit cooler than the rest. I started listening, and I thought, okay, there better be a mirror ball. Okay, people love this song. They're blown away by it, and the
31
lyrically
million plays, 31 million plays.
people love it. I mean, and then they're talking about the lyrics. And what does the mirror ball mean? And blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, didn't hit with me, but you know what? Maybe it's the one-off. But then you start listening, it's like, oh my god, everything is this boring. This is the most boring record I've heard in I don't know how long.
Every song on this album, I was looking at the number of plays and I could not believe it. I mean, that the first one is way out in front of the others, but every single one of these songs had multiple billions of plays.
It's so sad. It really is, because I love that group, and I do like the lead singer. But when he was more raw and he had the heavy accent and all that, just there was something there. So, do you want to go ahead and rate it? Because I'm not talking about every song.
Okay. I mean, yeah, for me, this was easily, I kind of wavered between a 1 and a 1.5 out of 5, but I just kind of landed on 1 because by the end of it, I was so ready for it to be over. I couldn't go above a 1.
Well, I'm putting that up there because that's my public service now. Because I'm going to be rude to the album, so I want you to go listen to something that's actually good. Yeah, I would say a 1, just because the musicianship is probably fine. His voice is fine. It's just, God, boring. Maybe if you wanted to go to bed, you wanted to fall asleep, put it on.
I mean, I would disagree with what you said. I did not like his voice on here, so it kind of works for this, but beyond that, like I didn't enjoy it.
It's just monotonous.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't sound bad to me. It's just the same thing over and over and over.
Every song.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll give it a 1. I'm not going to listen to this one again. I will go back to the good old days and continue with that. So there you have it. The not seal of approval from Metalhead and Foggy.
Yeah, it was a little rough.
That was painful. I was so excited when I saw it was on there. I'm like, yeah, we're getting this, but nope. Anywho, so that's the musical portion. And Mr. Money, I'm going to wash that down. You know why my tea tastes so good? Because it comes out of this fine receptacle. That's right. Everybody needs a Wanderings and Wool Gathering tea. Oh, I can fix that. You just tell me the dimensions on that. I will get you set up with a Wanderings and Wool Gathering.
This is the one I take to work. It gets beat up, so I don't want to put anything pretty on it.
I take this to work with me. Take it to games.
Yeah, but I work in a truck, and this kind of gets rolled around.
Yeah, but you have to drive by in your truck and just hold it up out the window like this for advertising. Do you think the city would mind putting our logo on the side?
I could probably get away with that for a minute until somebody noticed it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, maybe they'd be big fans of the show. Okay, well, that leads us to something that is good. We're going to finish on a good, solid note, and that is Sandman issue number 20 from Neil Gaiman. And what a depressing issue, but good.
Yeah, but good. It's really good.
And the return of an old friend, which is fun.
Yeah.
And that, Mr. Mundy, officially ends this book.
Okay. Yeah,
It
this is the
is.
last story in the Dream Country.
Yep. So this one will be done with this issue. That's kind of fun. We've dug through 20 now. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, there's not really. This is another one of those where you don't necessarily need to go through panel by panel, but great art. Depressing. Were you really familiar with Element Girl prior to this?
Definitely not when I read this originally. No.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously she's a female version of Metamorpho.
Yep.
I kind of like how they established the mythology here with Horus. Like if you don't know, Metamorpho got his powers through, he was kind of an adventurer, security guy, and he went into this tomb in Egypt, this ancient Egyptian tomb, and found this orb that kind of gave him his powers. And there's a similar thing here. She was actually tasked with doing this to try to get, whatever powers. I don't understand why they didn't think she would get the same powers, but they didn't seem to. They thought she would get powers, but not the same. I don't know why, but
it's a mystery.
Yeah. But that's basically what happened to her. But I like how they established that it was Ra, the sun god Ra, and he made, what did they call him, metamorphe.
Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Like Ra creates metamorphe, like these people with these powers to kind of, I don't know, represent him on Earth or something. And but he's still doing it at a time in the present time where they're not really needed. Like the reason he used to create them is moot and obsolete.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting.
And the last, didn't one die like 4,000 years ago?
Something like that.
Because she's talking to her later, and they can die. So
yes. Yeah.
Which, sorry about that.
It almost suggested that was in Pompeii. I kind of got a Pompeii feel from that.
For which part?
For when the one died thousands of years ago.
Yeah, we'll get to that part and we'll look and see if we can figure that out together.
So you've got I forgot her name already. It's Urania something.
Yes.
But she's
Blackwell.
Yes. So she's basically, and she calls herself Rainy. She's basically feeling sorry for herself because since she's gotten these powers, she had to retire from the CIA. She's getting some kind of pension from them, like kind of a disability pension, because she can't really like do anything, go outside. She's in like this massive depression. She smokes all the time, even though the smoking doesn't really affect her. She likes the feel of it, and it makes her feel almost human, she says. So
yep.
That's kind of where we come in. She's just kind of depressed, and her only contact is her, I guess, the guy in charge of her pension check from the company. They keep calling it the company. And yeah, so kind of a sad start.
Yeah, and I think the artwork is really good here. It really puts you in that frame of mind of that depression.
Are you muted? Or did something happen on my end?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Are you there?
I'm here.
I can't hear you. Good Lord.
Mine still says I'm going, so I assume I'm going to check my audio just to make sure. Yep, audio is still good on my end.
Hey, let me try to bounce out and come back in.
Okay.
Do that.
Sure.
All right.
All right, Mr. Mundy is vacating the screen for just a moment. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the art. He set the scene with Rainey, and she's smoking the whole time. She's excited when she gets these phone calls or when she gets to talk to Mulligan about when her pension's coming. He apparently is the only contact that she has. So she looks forward to those conversations because she doesn't have any others. She is really depressed. She lives alone. And the artwork in this issue is it really sets up the depression. There are lots of silhouettes of her. There's a wide shot of the walls in the foreground, and then she's kind of in the background, but it's a silhouette of her looking the other way. Lots of those kind of pictures and images just giving you this feeling of her isolation and the fact that she enjoys her talks with Mulligan because that's it. I mean, that's the extent of her social life.
Yeah.
So, welcome back. You can hear me?
Yes, I can. Before we go any further, like you were talking about the silhouettes and all that, I did want to mention the art specifically because this is Colleen Doran did the painter. She is legendary creator. She's been for a long, long time. Famous for her creator-owned project, A Distant Soil. But her work is normally very clean and very much not the style of this. I think a lot of the credit here for the feel would have to go to Malcolm Jones III, who's the inker. I think he dirtied up her work quite a bit here, it seems.
Oh, the skin for sure. Whoever put the skin scratches and, to make it look scaly and to really show the skin condition.
But this is very much not typical Colleen. Like, it doesn't feel that way. And I will say, like, when she is actually out in public in the daylight and all of that, the feel totally switches. So the two of them together, I think, did a great job telling the story visually.
Yes. Yeah, you can see the clean images when she goes to dinner. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. Yeah. So basically, she is alone, she's sad, and she gets an invitation from an old friend to go to dinner because this old friend has something important to tell her. And she, to disguise her scaly nastiness, she creates a mask, which will eventually harden and be no good anymore. But I think it says in here at one point she gets like a day out of it. So
she talks about how she can change her body into anything, and she can change it into flesh, but that flesh then rots and she smells for days, which is
she becomes rotten meat.
So what she does is she will create her face, she will change it to, it says silicate. And and it hardens and falls off it after a day or so, and then she will change her hair back to her kind of original blonde. She said she uses metals. She'll change her metals. She says it looks great as long as you don't touch it. So I thought it's pretty cool. And then she just covers up the rest of her body.
Yeah, she wears gloves and she's got long sleeves, and that kind of covers up the scaliness and all that. And then, like you were saying, the art here is super clean. Her face is clean. There's flowers and all these kind of things, and so you can see her artwork a little bit better here.
Yeah.
The friend's name Della, and apparently she has a secret with the CIA. Has a baby with who was it?
I don't think it says. It says like basically a male colleague who is married. So they were having an affair. She's pregnant. So she's pregnant as a single 36-year-old woman,
and he's married.
He's married. So she's kind of been in a little bit of a pickle there. She's not sure what to do, so she wanted to talk to Rainey here to see if she had any advice.
Yeah, it's interesting. She says, "What if my baby's a freak?" And then we look out the window, and there's these people out there, and she's like, they're just people, Della. They aren't freaks. It's not that I've got anything against them. It's just they make my skin crawl. It's like, and she's sitting across. Well, if she only known what she was dealing with across the table, which she will shortly, maybe she wouldn't have said those things.
So yeah, and at that point, like her silicate mask starts to fall off, and it's really cool how you kind of get Rainey's POV for like it's a clear panel of Della talking, and then it's like an eye hole and back, kind of frame, and she's like, "What's happening?" And then you see her mask fall into the spaghetti. So that I really like that sequential artwork there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then she gets up and runs out, and Della's like, "Well, she's got a skin disease." And in her haste, she runs out and she forgets her keys and her purse. So she uses magnesium to burn her way into her apartment. And then she tries to get a hold of Mulligan, who now is no longer there, or they're hiding him from her because she probably annoys him. And I could see, the old look into the office. Oh, no, he's not here right now, as he says, "No, I'm not here." But
well, they kind of play it off like almost like they've transferred him for some, like, I don't know. It's one of those things where she was getting too reliant or friendly with him, and maybe he made that known to his superiors, so they're like, we're just gonna move you then.
Yeah. So something has happened, but this is going to set her off then down a path of, well, she was already on the path. I mean, she was getting there already, but now she's just to the point where it's like, I just want to die. And there's some great artwork here of her, again, just like she looks pathetic in the art. There's singular shots of her. She's looking down, she looks up, and then you get the box, "I'll kill myself."
Yeah.
But how? She can't. She assumes she can't die.
Right. So then we get to a special visitor.
Yes.
The form of Death, who just happened to be I like it doesn't happen for a minute yet, but she says something about how she thought when she realizes who she is, she was like, "Oh, did you come to take me?" And she was like, "Oh, no, 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 no. I was upstairs. I was gathering someone upstairs, and I just happened to, hear
You're strolling by." Yeah, she basically tells her like she's everywhere at once because she's Death and she has to take people at all times. But even though that's the case, she just happened to be strolling by and heard her and came in to talk.
Yeah.
So
she reiterates that to Death. I want to die, but I don't know how. So then Death starts, well, I like the sequence where Rainey is saying, I could do this, but then this. I could do this, but then this. And so she's like coming up with all these, like, I don't know. I hate to say typical suicide ideas because that's normal human, whatever situations, and but my body will react to it this way and it won't work. And so she's breaking down all these things, and then that's where Death comes in and says that even the metamorphi die eventually. Eventually everything dies. It just takes a little bit longer for you guys, but sooner or later your morphogenic field collapses and blah blah blah. And so it's a Roman centurion was
2,000 years.
Yes, 2,000 years. Well, it says he was 2,000 years old.
Yes. Okay.
And he died in a volcano. So that kind of led me, I don't know, the volcano thing made me think of Pompeii, but it doesn't really say that.
Right. Vesuvius.
Sure. And
Yeah.
that's where Death explains to her that she's everywhere all at once, because she finally realizes who she is. So
yeah, and then it's where she's kind of standing there with her arms crossed then, and she's like, I'll help you. That's what you want. That's what I get for getting involved. He's just nonchalantly throwing it off, And then she says, you'll kill me? You'll take my life? Your life is your own, Rainey. So is your death. And that's not an option. So she gives her the means or the idea of how she might end her own life.
Right, which is basically, she tells her to, since Ra gave her these powers, she should appeal to him. And he is still around, but he's not as powerful as he once was, but he is still there. So you look to the sun and appeal to Ra, and maybe he'll take mercy on you.
Yeah, I think it's cool too. As she, they have the shot of the sun, and then she looks and she's like, I've never realized the sun. It's just a mask too, and the face behind it. It's beautiful. And then she looks into the sun, and that's it.
Yeah, she kind of, I don't know what she really hardens into, but she kind of just hardens into something and starts to crumble.
Yeah, it's almost like the sun burned her up, or dried her out, or whatever that might be. And then as they're there, the phone rings. Did you notice that we always say like the phone would be the bring, bring, and this is dring, dring? Yeah. I've never seen the phone ring spelled with a D before.
Yeah. Maybe that's a British thing. I don't know.
I'm assuming, yeah. Maybe their phones sound different. Who knows? And look, that phone has a cord.
Oh, yeah.
This is dated.
Well, I mean, this was what, like
90.
Was it even that? 20 issues in?
2 years.
So probably like 89-ish.
Okay. And then she takes the phone. She's like, you want Rainey? She's gone away, I'm afraid.
Yeah. And but it was interesting that it was Mulligan calling.
Yes.
So that's why I say I feel like the company.
Yeah.
But then he kept her number and was trying to contact her because he.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
But she's gone.
And then it's got the cutesy ending though. Sorry, couldn't help you any. Be seeing you. She got that little look on her face.
Yeah.
The drawing of Death here is fantastic. She does an awesome job with that character.
Yes, Death's face and her that is much more reflective of Colleen Doran's typical work, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
she's very cute, very clean looking, and like I said, they knocked it out of the park with the artwork on this one, because they dirtied it where it needed to be dirtied, and it out in the daylight looked really clean and nice, and then Death was just kind of a cute little young woman. So they did a really good job.
I don't know that any of these really suffer from bad art. I mean, the art and the layouts, I think, on these are so good as well. This was released in August 28th of 1990.
Okay.
All right, so that brings us to the end of Dream Country. And number 20. And I get to get out a different book. I'm so excited.
I'm halfway through my monster here. So
sweet. God, I don't know where to put it though.
I have the singles from here on out, but I'll read them.
It's probably just easier in the book form.
Yep.
All right. So next week we do have a comic special guest, and I will let Mr. Mundy tip us into that one.
Yeah. So I feel like it was like peak pandemic time. We were, trying to find different things to do. And we talked to a couple of the guys. Well, at that time, it was kind of the two guys that were running Away Blue World, was Justin Zimmerman and Tyler Chin Tanner. And I believe Justin has left. He's super involved in like filmmaking and other endeavors. So I'm pretty sure he's left. So it's Tyler and his wife, whose name I'm going to mess up. I feel like it's Wendy. But they are like co-publishers for A Wave Blue World, which is a great company. They're putting out some really cool books. Very small press. Tyler wrote a book a couple of years ago called Mezzo, Mezo, and very, very cool story, beautiful artwork, kind of set. It's called Mezzo because it's kind of that Mesozoic period. Yeah, hey, that's my book. So he has now put out a sequel to that, and we're going to have Tyler on and talk all about that.
Yeah, the artwork is amazing.
It is. It really is. The single issues have all come out as a 5-issue series, so I got all those, and the trade is coming out. I believe the Wednesday after we are going to talk to him. So we wanted to try to get him in between, the single series wrapping up and the trade coming out. So
yeah, I looked today to order it, and you're correct. It's not out just yet. And his wife is Wendy Chin Tanner.
Yeah,
you were right. And yeah, there's a group there of about 6 people running it, which is awesome.
Yeah.
We are super excited to have him on. That book is really good. I would definitely suggest if you'd like to support indie books and creators who are out there doing an awesome job, this is something you should pick up. I will be reading Mezzo 2 shortly. I can't wait. This is a really good story. If you like historical pieces, what I like about this is it does look cool and kind of fits into that Mesozoic feel. But it's got characters that you can latch onto, because if you don't have good characterization, you don't want to read it, even if it looks pretty. So he does a really nice job.
Yeah. So Tyler's a really good guy. He's, he seems to have his heart in the right place on a lot of things. He's a great follow on Facebook and Instagram. He has been with this series specifically, but also with other projects in A Wave Blue World. He's really been making the rounds on the conventions. He was just at the Baltimore Comic-Con, this past weekend.
Yeah.
So he's been really, really promoting it out there, trying to get the word out. And he's been getting some really cool books signed. So he just met at Baltimore. He just met like Innocenti and like all kinds of people. So it's pretty cool.
Awesome. Love it. So that will be next Sunday, which is just about 5 days away now. So that's super exciting. And in the next couple of weeks, we potentially might be reviewing Joji or Dermot Kennedy. If we don't do Joji, I think my daughter might disown me and hate Mundy forever. So we might have pressure on that one. We'll see. Mr. Mundy, where in the heck might people find you if they want?
You can find me on Instagram at Metalhead Mundy.
Why do they call you Metalhead?
Because I've been listening to heavy metal since I was a young child, and I love it. It's my favorite.
See, there's a reason for everything.
Yeah,
And
I like other things too, but
Well, we are well versed on it. We've done well. We went through a phase where we had a lot of metal and rock in a row, but we venture out a lot. We do a lot of different music, so we're varied. And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter. And I just joined Tribal just to see what that's all about. Lots of people are angry on Twitter because Elon Musk took over and now he's removing restrictions so you can say anything you want, which free speech, that is amazing. But that also opens up for lots of hate speech and terrible people to have platforms. So a lot of people were switching from Twitter and going to Tribal, which allows you to curate who you see a lot better. And so I joined that and I was checking it out. I'm in a podcast group there, and a friend of mine that's on Facebook and Twitter does a lot of comic stuff, following him there too. So I just wanted to see how that works. Maybe in a week or two, I'll give you a report and see if it's worth being there. Right now, it seems a little empty, not a lot of activity, a lot of people there, but thought I'd try it out for fun. So you can find me there, Instagram, Twitter, at Foggy's pal, and I'm the same at all of those. And you can find Wanderings and Wool Gathering on YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, Stitcher, Castbox, and SoundCloud. And next week, what is that? 130, episode 130, we'll be talking to Tyler Chen Tanner from A Wave Blue World. Please join us Sunday night at 7 o'clock for that. And until then, we'll just have to listen to music on our own to get that terrible taste out of our mouth. Do you agree?
Yeah. I might do that as soon as we get off here.
Attaboy. Bye now.